According to a recent UN report, the world is on track to emit enough carbon to exceed the 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming limit within the next 10 years. The UN's Climate Change Secretariat warned that the emission reductions outlined in the national climate plans that were submitted to the UN between now and 2030 are not nearly ambitious enough to keep global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The average temperature of the Earth would rise by 2.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels by the end of the century if the current trend continues, far above the 2 degrees Celsius upper limit established by the Paris Agreement. Scientists have issued a warning that this degree of heat may result in tipping points that would cause uncontrollable climate change. The impact of the climate plans presented through the UN process is evaluated in the most recent synthesis report from the UN. There has been some improvement since the research from the previous year, and worldwide emissions are now predicted to peak before the end of the decade. However, the national plans are still far short of what is required to achieve the global objective. If the plans were perfectly implemented, emissions would decrease by 3.6% by 2030 compared to 2019 levels, significantly below the 43% decrease required to attain the 1.5 degrees Celsius objective. The plans call for wealthy countries to assist poorer ones in funding climate action. By the end of this decade, current plans would have used up 87% of the carbon budget for 1.5 degrees Celsius, and by 2032, the budget will have been completely depleted. The UN's climate chief, Simon Stiell, stated in a statement that the downward trend in emissions predicted by 2030 suggests that governments have achieved some progress this year. But the Paris Agreement's climate goals and the science are both very clear. To put us on track for a 1.5 degrees Celsius world, we are still far from reducing emissions at the size and rate necessary. At the COP26 Climate Summit in Glasgow, UK, last year, it became evident that current climate promises wouldn't be sufficient to keep temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius, therefore countries pledged to reconvene within a year with more aggressive plans to reduce emissions. But only 24 nations have presented updated plans since COP26, a number Stiell called disappointing. In order to prevent the terrible effects of runaway climate change, he stated, government policies and actions must reflect the level of urgency, the intensity of the risks we are confronting, and the length of time we have left. At the COP27 Climate Summit, which will take place in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, the following month, states will once again be under pressure to increase their ambition for reducing carbon emissions and to offer more funding to assist vulnerable countries in fully implementing their climate plans. According to a press statement from Egypt's foreign minister and COP27 President-elect Sami Choukri, raising ambition and urgent implementation are vital for addressing the climate catastrophe. Climate activists repeated the call for stricter emission control measures.